Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you how to make the Google Chrome Dinosaur Endless Runner game in Scratch. If you didn't know, Google Chrome has a secret game that you can play when you have no internet. And in this video, I'll be recreating that game. Anyways, before we get started, I have a starter project which contains all of the required sprites for this game. Link is in the description below. Once you're in the starter project, you can either drag the sprites into your backpack like so, and drag them out of the backpack into your own project, or you can simply remix my starter project. But anyways, once you have the sprites, we can begin making the game. Alright, so first off, inside of our dinosaur sprite, I'm going to go to events and drag a when flag clicked, and then I'll go to looks and make sure our dinosaur sprite is shown, and then I'm going to position it somewhere over here near the bottom of the screen. So I'll go to motion, and then I'll drag a go to XY block, and I'll set it to something like X -187, and Y something like -123. And inside of our ground sprite, I'm going to move it somewhere down here. So I'm going to go to events again and drag a when flag clicked, and then go to motion and drag a go to XY block. And for our X position, I'll put it in the center, so 0. And for our Y position, I'll move it a bit more down, so maybe -138. Alright, and I also want to make sure that our dinosaur is in front of the ground sprite, so I'm going to go to looks and drag a go to front layer and put it under the when flag clicked. Alright, so now we want to make the dinosaur be able to jump and fall down to the ground. So to do so, let's go to my blocks and let's create our own custom block. So I'll name this something like check jumping, and then I'm going to add 2 number inputs, so click this button twice. And in the first one, I'll call this one fall speed. And in the second one, I'll call this one jump height. And then click OK. And inside of our check jumping custom block, let's go to control and drag an if else. And we want to check if the dinosaur's Y position is greater than its starting Y position, which is -123. Then we want it to fall, because that means the dinosaur is in the air. Otherwise, once it reaches its original Y position, then we want it to stay there, because that means it's going to be on the ground. So inside of the if, let's go to operators, and let's drag a not, and let's drag a less than operator, and let's go to motion, and let's drag the Y position block and put it on the left side, and check if the Y position of the dinosaur is not less than -123, or our dinosaur's starting position. So if the dinosaur is in the air, then we want it to fall. And to create gravity, let's go to variables, and let's create a new variable, and I'll call this Y velocity. And then I'll select for the sprite only, and click OK. Alright, so this is going to be the Y fall speed of the dinosaur. And then inside of the if, let's change Y velocity by fall speed. Alright, and then after that, let's go to motion, and let's drag a change Y by Y velocity. Alright, and then after that, let's go to operators, and then drag a plus, and go to variables, and drag our Y velocity variable on the right side, and drag our Y position on the left side, and drag it back inside of the if. And this is just to make sure that we have a smooth ground detection when it falls. And now to check our check jumping code, let's go to control and grab a forever loop and drag it under the when flag clicked. And then I'm going to go to my blocks and drag the check jumping block inside of the forever loop. And now for the fall speed, which is the first circle over here, I'm going to type in something like -2.7. Alright, and now before we can try out this code, we have to make sure to set the Y velocity to 0 inside of the else, because that means the dinosaur is currently on the ground, and we don't want the dinosaur to keep on falling. Alright, and now let's also go to motion and drag a set Y to -123, or the dinosaur's starting position. And actually, I'm going to create a new variable, and I'll call this starting Y position, and then I'll select for the sprite only, and click OK. So this is going to just simplify some things, but I'm just going to set starting Y position to -123, and then drag this variable inside of the Y of the go to XY, and also drag this inside of the if, and also inside of this set Y block. Alright, and now one more thing. Let's set our Y velocity to 0 when the flag is clicked. And now let's try out the gravity code. So if we drag our dinosaur in the air, then as you can see, it falls down like so. Alright, cool. So now that we have our gravity and ground detection working, we can now add the jumping. And the jumping is actually really simple. All we have to do is inside of the else, let's go to control and drag in if, and let's go to sensing and check if key space pressed, or whatever key you want to use to make the dinosaur jump. Then let's set Y velocity to the jump height. Okay, and now lastly, inside of the check jumping block, let's try a jump height of something like 20.5. So that's how much the Y velocity is going to change when we press the spacebar. Alright, now let's try it out. And now when we try pressing the spacebar, then as you can see, the dinosaur jumps like so. Alright, cool. I can also hold the spacebar, and it also jumps normally. Alright, now that we have the jumping and gravity working for the dinosaur, now let's make it look like it's moving by adding a walk animation. So for our walk animation, let's go to events and drag a separate when flag clicked. And then let's go to control and drag a forever loop. And then let's drag an if else. And inside of the if, we only want the dinosaur to do its walking animation if it's on the ground. So let's go to operators and grab an equals and check if the Y position of the dinosaur is equal to its starting Y position, which means that the dinosaur sprite is on the ground. Then let's switch costume to its first walk animation image, which is walk 1. And then let's go to control and drag a wait. Let's change it to something like 0.07 seconds. And then let's right click and duplicate these two blocks and make it switch costume to walk 2, which is the second image of its walk animation, and also wait 0.07 seconds. Alright, so if the dinosaur is on the ground, then it's going to walk like so. Else, if the dinosaur is in the air, which means that it's jumping, then we don't want it to do its walking animation cycle. So instead, let's switch costume to its normal costume. Alright, so now if we try it out, then as you can see, it's walking, and once it jumps, then it stops walking and switches to its normal costume. Alright, cool. So now we pretty much have all of the basic code for the dinosaur down, and now we want to make it look like the dinosaur is actually moving forward. And to do so, we have to make some changes inside of the ground sprite. So first off, let's go inside of our ground, and just to make sure, let's drag a show under the when flag clicked, and then let's go to control, and then drag a forever loop, and we always want the ground to move from the right to the left side of the screen. So let's create a new custom block, and I'll call this one scroll, and then click OK. And then let's drag the scroll custom block inside of our forever loop, and inside of our scroll custom block, let's go to motion, let's drag a change x by, and let's set the change x by to something like -10, which will be the speed of how fast it scrolls from the right to the left side of the screen. Alright, and then once our ground sprite reaches the edge of the screen, which is x position -240, then we want it to go back to the right side of the screen. However, one thing is that our ground sprite costume itself takes up pretty much the entire screen. So we have to add an additional 240, which is the screen width, to check for when we want the ground to move back to the right side of the screen. So let's go to control and drag an if and check if the x position of the ground sprite is less than -480 instead of -240. Then we want to set the x position of the ground to the ground's x position times -1. So pretty much that would reset it to +480. So now if we try it out, then as you can see, our ground moves. And then once it reaches the left side of the screen, then it instantly warps to the right side of the screen, like so. So now, of course, this does not look correct because the ground disappears half of the time. But to fix this, we can create a copy of our ground sprite and then make our copy follow the end of our real ground sprite. So to do so, let's go to control And let's drag a create clone of myself. And then let's drag a Dinosaur as a clone. And then let's go to motion. And I'm going to drag a go to XY block. And for our X position, let's set it to 480. So the clone would be on the very right edge of the screen. And then the Y position, let's set it to also negative 138. And for our clone, let's right click and duplicate the forever loop and the scroll block and put it inside of the Dinosaur as a clone. Alright, so now if we try it out, then we have a clone that is following the end of our original ground sprite, and now it looks like the ground is infinitely looping. Alright, cool. So now that we have the ground down, it looks like the dinosaur is actually walking forward. Okay, and next up, we want to add our cactus, which are our obstacles. So let's go inside of the cactus sprite, and let's go to events, and drag a when flag clicked, and let's hide the original cactus sprite, and then let's go to control, and drag a forever loop, and we want the cactus to forever spawn. So inside of this forever loop, we want to wait 1 second, and then let's create a clone of myself. Alright, so now for our cactus clones, let's grab a show, and let's make the cactus spawn on the right side of the screen. So let's go to motion, and let's grab a go to XY block, and for our X position, let's do something like 260 to make sure that it starts completely off the screen. And for our Y position, let's try something like negative 127. And for our cactus sprite, we have 5 different costumes. So we want to switch to one at random. So inside of the code, let's go to looks and switch costume to, and let's go to operators, grab a pick random 1 to 10 and change this to pick random 1 to 5. So the cactus sprite is going to change its costume to a random one of these costumes. Alright, and then now let's go to control and grab a repeat until, and we want the cactus to always move towards the left of the screen until it reaches the edge, and then in that case delete itself. So inside of the repeat until, let's go to operators and drag a lesser than and check if the X position of the cactus is less than, let's say something like negative 260. Then inside of this loop, we want to change X by its move speed. So I'll try something like negative 10. Alright, and then once it reaches the edge of the screen, then we want to go to control and delete the clone. Okay, so now if we try it out, then as you can see, cactus spawns every second and moves towards the left side of the screen until it reaches the edge. However, they don't seem to be disappearing, and that's because the X position is a bit too large. And to fix that, we can actually go inside of looks and set its size to something larger. So for example, 150% before the change X by, and then after the change X by, let's set it back to its original size, which is 50% over here. Alright, and now that way, the cactus all smoothly leave the edge of the screen like so. Okay, cool. So now that we have the cactus, of course, we want the dinosaur to be able to collide with the cactus, and once it does, then end the game. So inside of our dinosaur sprite, let's grab another when flag clicked, and another forever loop, and check if touching the cactus sprite. Then let's go to events, or actually control, and stop all. Okay, so now if we try it out, then once a dinosaur touches the cactus, then the entire game stops. However, this does not look really good because as you can see, all the clones are deleted once the stop all is called. So we don't really want that because it doesn't look that pretty. So to fix this, we can actually go to events and broadcast a new message. So in this case, I'll call it game over. And then let's drag this right before the stop all. And instead of stop all, let's do stop other scripts in Sprite, and then right after, let's stop this script. Okay, and then I'm going to do a few more things. First of all, I'm going to go to variables and create a new variable, and I'll call this game over with a question mark, and then keep it for all sprites, and click OK. And then inside of the if touching cactus, I'm going to set game over to yes. However, once the game starts, obviously I want to set game over to no. So I'm actually going to do that inside of the stage. So I'm going to grab a new when flag clicked and then set game over to no. All right. And now back inside of our dinosaur sprite, I'm going to do one more thing, which is to go to looks and switch costume to its scared costume. Alright, so now if we try it out, then once it hits a cactus, then as you can see, all of the scripts inside of the dinosaur sprite stops. However, the cactus and ground still keeps going. So to fix this, we have to go inside of first our cactus sprite, and then go to events and drag a winner receive, game over. Then we want to stop other scripts in the sprite. And then one more thing, to prevent any clones from being spawned when the game is over, let's add an if and check if game over is equal to yes. Then we want to simply delete any existing clones. And let's drag this right before the repeat until. Alright, so now the cactus should stop once the game is over. And now inside of the ground sprite, we can just simply go to events and drag a winner receive game over, then stop other scripts in sprite. Alright, cool. So now the cactus and ground should both stop once the game is over. So if we try it out, then as you can see, the dinosaur touched the cactus and everything stops and it looks nice like so. And I think I'm going to go inside of the cactus sprite and go to operators and pick random, something like 0.5 seconds and 1.8 seconds between each spawning of the cactus, just to make the game a bit more fun. And now the cactus should spawn at different rates. So as you can see, sometimes they're more spaced out and sometimes they're more close together. Okay, cool. All right, we have our cactus. And let's try touching the cactus again. All right, and the entire game stops. Anyways, that's it for this tutorial. If you enjoyed it, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe too, if you haven't already. In the next video, I'll be adding some clouds, a game over screen with a retry button, and a score and high score counter. Anyways, that's it for this video. See ya!